There's not enough iridium in the world to satisfy the green hydrogen demand. We are looking at hundreds of billions of dollars of business in the next coming years.
Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome back to Earthlings 2.0, the show where we imagine how we can be better versions of ourselves and build a collective future that we actually want to live in. Today, we're exploring innovative approaches to producing green hydrogen, also known as low-carbon hydrogen. You see, as efforts intensify toward global decarbonization, green hydrogen has emerged as a pivotal component in the transition to sustainable energy. But there are challenges that need to be addressed to truly scale green hydrogen production. But before we get there, no, you are not seeing or hearing things. I am not Lisa Ann Pinkerton. My name is Luis De Leon. I'm a senior public relations account executive at the award-winning PR firm Technica Communications, where our teams work to scale sales and investment pipelines for our clients through media exposure. Now, as you may know, your main host, Lisa Ann Pinkerton, is founder and CEO of Technica. As for me, before joining the team, I was a broadcast journalist where I covered everything from local tech sectors and economics to politics and the environment, race and culture, and everything in between at cities across the U.S., including in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Austin, Texas, and Denver, Colorado. Now don't worry, Lisa Ann is still officially hosting the show, but you'll be seeing me fill in every now and then. Now, before we dive in, whether this is your first time here or you've been following the show for a while, we are glad that you are spending part of your day with us. And if you find this episode or any of the others compelling, please share it with someone who you think would enjoy it. That is the best way to help the show grow. And thank you to Resource Labs for having us on the network. And so with that, let's jump into today's episode. According to the Center on Global Energy Policy at Columbia University, today, 98% of hydrogen is made from fossil fuels with no CO2 emissions control. That number can vary depending on the study or source that you see. In the industry, this is called gray hydrogen. Now, if they did implement, say, carbon capture with the hydrogen production, it would be called blue hydrogen. Both types generate hydrogen through methane reforming. But for us to have a cleaner energy future, green hydrogen is the goal. That's created through electrolysis. But today, according to that study out of Columbia, just 1% of hydrogen is produced from electrolysis. And that's why today's tech spotlight is Cipher Neutron, a Canadian company working to address the challenges facing green hydrogen production. Cipher Neutron has developed advanced anion exchange membrane electrolyzers that are notably PFAS-free, which are also known as forever chemicals. We have a whole episode that discusses what PFAS is and its impacts. It's episode number 44. You can find a link to that in the show notes. But what this all means is that Cipher Neutron's electrolyzers offer a sustainable and cost-effective solution for producing green hydrogen. This technology enhances the efficiency and affordability of hydrogen production, making it more accessible for various industries. Gurjant Randhawa is CEO and president of Cipher Neutron, who brings more than a decade of hands-on experience in hydrogen electrolyzers and fuel cells. Prior to founding Cipher Neutron, he served as head of research and development for a Toronto Stock Exchange-listed company that markets alkaline-based electrolyzers globally. He also has co-invented new technologies, filed many international patents in the hydrogen space. So Gurjant, you have quite the resume, sir. Welcome to the show.
My pleasure, and thanks for having me here.
Let's get into it a little bit. It's widely reported that mining for the metals to produce hydrogen can be environmentally harmful. It's something that's widely known in the industry and everything. But that said, just for our listeners, can you catch us up on why that's environmentally harmful? And to that point, is that really what inspired you to get into this kind of work?
There's a little bit background to that question. There are three ways to produce hydrogen, and I'm pretty sure many of our listeners will be, depending on the age of the listeners, but I'm pretty sure almost all of them has been to chemistry classes as kids. Many of them will remember teachers will show us a beaker with the electrolyte in it. You put positive, negative, and then you see hydrogen on the cathode and oxygen on the anode side. So that's the most traditional way to produce hydrogen. That's called alkaline electrolysis process. And then, of course, there were many limitations to that. The industry developed PEM systems, proton exchange membrane electrolysis, which is called PEM systems. So PEM systems are efficient, compact in design, but they have issues because every single PEM electrolyzer out there uses PFAS, which you already mentioned, PFAS-based membranes. And also they need precious group metals, notably platinum and iridium, right? Uh, One fun fact about iridium is more than 80% of iridium is actually based in South Africa and Ukraine. And mining these minerals is, first of all, very expensive. Secondly, not very environmental friendly, as we all know. Just to mine 1 megawatt of PEM electrolyzer, the mining companies are producing more than 100 tons of carbon dioxide in the environment. I didn't want to do anything traditional, which is not sustainable because mining all these minerals is a big challenge. So this is what motivated me or our company to go towards AEM or anion exchange membrane electrolysis that does same, if not better, job than the PEM electrolyzers, but without using any iridium and without using any PFAS-based membranes.
And I love that you bring up the example of being in school and sort of like learning about some of the early on things about this concept. And so that must be pretty full circle for you, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, if we go back 5, 6 years, um, everybody had heard about hydrogen, but no one was talking about green hydrogen. No one was talking about clean hydrogen. And even we have investors, we have customers, um, or some new people want to learn about hydrogen, but they don't know where to start. I mean, every time we talk about hydrogen, most of people think transportation, fuel cells, but in fact, the fuel cell industry or the transportation industry is actually less than 1% out of that 100%. Let's say if we talk about green hydrogen, less than 1% is actually transportation. Most or the biggest industry right now for green hydrogen is ammonia manufacturing or fertilizers, oil and gas industry, steel industry, mining industry. So hydrogen as a process gas has a big future, and yeah, I love talking about that, and I love teaching people and showing them where exactly you use hydrogen every day in your daily life, but you just don't see it.
I know I already gave a brief intro into Cipher Neutron, but can you tell us a little bit more about how exactly the AEM electrolyzers work? What's the innovation here?
So AEM is right now, I mean, you talk to alkaline manufacturers, you talk to PEM manufacturers. Alkaline AEM is now a proven technology that is sustainable, scalable, and affordable. The way the AEM system work is very similar to PEM system. So what we have is we have a membrane in our system. It's called anion exchange membrane, of course. And what we do is instead of exchanging protons, as we do in the PEM electrolyzers, we do opposite. We actually exchange anions or hydroxyl ions. So it's a kind of opposite process than you would see into the PEM electrolyzer. So we use a membrane in the cell or in the stack that separates hydrogen or helps to separate hydrogen and oxygen gases. So basically, you inject water into the system, and on the one side, let's say on the cathode side, on the negative side, we produce hydrogen and we capture it. And on the anode side, we produce oxygen and we capture it. So that's how basically AEM system, I mean, again, in simple terms, of course, there's more, it's definitely more complex than what I said. But the simple principle is we split water using DC power, direct current, positive, negative, and we make hydrogen and we store it.
And so that way you're not sourcing those precious metals and not having to go in and mine to complete hydrogen production. Is that right? And I guess that's the role that this plays in environmental sustainability.
Sustainability and is one of the biggest challenges. What we saw in 2020, what happened to supply chain, right? I mean, as we all know, we in this world we rely on other countries, right? For example, for precious metals, we rely on South Africa. For manufacturing, a lot of companies rely on China, right? So there's a reliance in this world, right? With introducing AEM electrolyzers, we are enabling the world economies or the countries to sustain. So, for example, we make AEM electrolyzers in Toronto, and every single part of that AEM system is made in Ontario. So basically, let's say when we plan to open manufacturing facilities in India, in China, you name it, the materials we use, they are local materials. So we don't have to now, wait 3 years, 4 years, because if you look at the PEM electrolyzer business, it takes 3 to 4 years for customers to get the PEM electrolyzer. It's not that the PEM companies cannot make it. The problem is supply chain. It's taking, there's not enough iridium in the world to justify or to satisfy the green hydrogen demand. We are looking at hundreds of billions of dollars of business in the next coming years. So this is why it was a big decision. I mean, when we started, AEM was very new, and it took time to convince people. It took time because everything takes time, right? Um, so yeah, I mean, I think we did it, and we are very proud of it.
And so your team claims then that you have achieved an efficiency rate of around 90% for your electrolyzers. That's above the industry average of around 80%. How significant is that improvement, and what did it take to get to that achievement there?
So first of all, when we look at the hydrogen price, almost 70% of the price of hydrogen is actually uh, kind of attributed to the cost of electricity, right? So when we say we improve the electricity efficiency, that means we can generate more hydrogen using same electricity, right? So when we say above 90% efficiency levels, these are efficiency levels that we have achieved based on high heating value efficiency levels. So we have achieved more than 90% HHV values. That means we can produce more hydrogen using same electricity. That's a stack efficiency. So yes, what does that mean to the market? I think companies struggle for 1%, companies struggle for 2%. Because when we look at as I said, the 70% of the cost of hydrogen is actually the cost of electricity. So if we can make more hydrogen using same electricity, or vice versa, meaning, uh, you know, uh, producing same hydrogen using less electricity, we can leverage that difference now. We can bring down the cost of hydrogen. So that's like almost 15 to 20% of reduction in the price of hydrogen that we can achieve by increasing the efficiency of the system. There's no such thing as changing one thing in an electrolyzer or in any system. I mean, the electrolyzer itself has hundreds of parts. So the compression ratio, the choice of materials, the iridium-free ink that we make, or the recipe that we have that goes inside the cells, the design of the cell, the balance of plant of the cell, how we put it together, how we run the system, how we control the system. So all these things have kind of helped Cipher Neutron to make a better product.
And so that said, how is your technology being used right now? Are there any use case scenarios that you can share with some of our listeners, or any sort of stories for how the solution's being used?
Our first product was in Taiwan that actually ran a fuel cell vehicle. But all our other projects are, I mean, I think we are in every sector. We have customers who are producing hydrogen to make fertilizers, meaning ammonia business. We are also in oil and gas industries. We are shipping one product to Chile, actually, in South America, for mining industry. So a lot of people actually don't know that mining companies, they consume lots of hydrogen. They use in a process called metal reduction process. Then they have smelters. We have actually one application where we're working on right now in Quebec, in Canada, where we're replacing natural gas with hydrogen. This is this iron ore manufacturing process, which then will make green steel. So these are kind of customers we have. We're also talking to chemical companies uh, to make ethanol, methanol. So we have a wide range of companies who are using our solutions to make hydrogen to use hydrogen as a process gas.
That was going to lead into my next question then, about how this can be tailored to different industries and sectors of all kinds, right? So that said, what sectors can we expect utilization of your electrolyzers first? And by that, I mean really, where are we going to see it most consistently being used, say, in the next like several years? Where is it most consistently used and how?
So I think I will then come back to transportation because transportation is backed by big billion-dollar companies, actually multi-trillion-dollar market. Um, Cummins announced that they are launching hydrogen ICE engine, which is hydrogen-based IC, IC engine, which is totally different than fuel cell business. So they're gonna need hydrogen, right? They are investing big time in it. Honda is doing the same thing. Hyundai is going big on hydrogen fuel cell cars. BMW, same thing. So transportation sector will be a big thing. It may not be as affordable as diesel engines or gas engines, but uh, I'm, I'm expecting a lot of electrolyzers will be sold for transportation industry. Then we have green ammonia. Ammonia right now is one of the largest, consumer of hydrogen or gray hydrogen. For example, India, I think, has mandated in next few years they have to make 20% green ammonia. Same thing in China. So the whole world is actually moving towards green ammonia. So that will be a big sector. Um, Mining will adopt slowly. So yeah, I mean, I think oil and gas industry, ammonia industry, and transportation industry will be big sectors. But I think I forgot one sector, which is blending natural gas with hydrogen, right? So if you go in Europe right now, even in Canada, I mean, I pay, Enbridge for consuming hydrogen because in somehow, some houses in Ontario, we already have hydrogen being blended into our natural gas pipelines. So hydrogen blending in natural gas pipelines is going to be a big thing in the next few coming years. So these are the few sectors I believe will kind of, not only grow, but they will also push the other sectors along with them, right? Because these sectors will help us, companies like us, to make more revenue, reinvest in the infrastructure, reinvest in the technology to improve it so that the other sectors can adopt easy.
This sounds like effective usage, right? When we think of it being applied to different parts of our daily life. But still, research shows an overutilization of traditional hydrogen production. So, what do you think are the primary barriers that are still in the way here for a company like yours?
So we will talk about Cipher Neutron as well, but at the same time, I think if we look at because I always say that our competition is not with the green hydrogen companies. I think our biggest competition is with the gray hydrogen companies, right? The methane, process. SMR is our competition, right? So we have to compete with the price of gray hydrogen. And if you look at the price of gray hydrogen, we have to first of all, like when we want to develop something in R&D, we have to accept what's wrong with us, right? And I think the biggest thing is the price of green hydrogen, right? We need to improve electrolysis so that we can produce as much as we can from the electricity cost, from the electricity consumption, right? So we have to make the electrolyzer sufficient, right? Meaning that we produce more hydrogen using the same electricity. Uh, but you can do so much. We are already 90%. If you want to do more, it's not going to change much, right? There's only limit of 100%, right? You can only improve so much. But what can we actually do is to implement renewable resources. For example, we work with a company in Saudi Arabia, and their electricity cost is 1 cent, 1.1 cent per kilowatt hours. So for them, the green hydrogen makes more sense than buying gray hydrogen, right? So the cost of electricity has to improve. We need to implement more solar panels. We need to implement wind turbines. We need to, integrate the electrolysis with the nuclear power facilities. So uh, that's number one, to improve efficiency, to reduce the cost of electricity. But at the same time, as electrolyzer manufacturers, we need to further reduce the price of electrolyzers, the capex of the system, right? And then we have to also improve the lifetime of the electrolyzer, right? Why I'm saying all these things? We're already working on these things, right? And I think we have achieved, we have done pretty good job in kind of, uh, targeting all these different sectors. But first of all, we have to admit it that the cost of green hydrogen is more than the cost of gray hydrogen. So I think once we understand that, then we have to pinpoint all these separate areas, and then we have to, I think, as industry, as As academia, we have to come together, put some more effort into this. The government should invest more into this, and we can definitely achieve a sustainable and affordable future with hydrogen.
Can you elaborate on a time where maybe you have a customer that was a bit skeptical about electrolyzer technology, your type of technology, right? And then maybe they were super surprised by the results that they saw.
It's actually two things, right? First of all, yes, the price of hydrogen, right? Um, as I said, there are certain cases where a customer, let's say it's a remote site, remote mining site, they have to import hydrogen from 500 miles. So the cost of gray hydrogen is actually more than cost of green hydrogen because we are producing on site. So we are cutting down completely the transportation cost. So we are very competitive with the price of green hydrogen. So it was a good experience where we could produce hydrogen at actually cheaper price than the gray hydrogen they were buying, this company. But the second thing is there is definitely a fear of starting something new, right? What is hydrogen? I mean, people sometimes think this is very dangerous, and they always bring up this incident that happened almost 100 years ago in the States, Hindenburg and this and that. See, we are past that. It's been almost 100 years, and there are now hydrogen production technologies, very safe, very secure. So yeah, I mean, we have had customers who are very skeptical in the beginning because of the cost of hydrogen. Second is, the safety training, all that kind of stuff. But we received then great feedback from those customers.
Collectively speaking, where do you see the direction going as far as like adoption of your type of technology or just moving in the direction of green hydrogen production altogether?
Well, I think as we speak now, I mean, there are many institutions out there. There are many new masters, programs now being offered on hydrogen. No, new PhDs. So I think there's this next decade is going to be innovation decade. It's going to give a lot to hydrogen industry itself. I mean, I strongly believe there will be new products launching in next 5, 6, 10 years. We will see new companies coming. Uh, I'm not going to say that we will see like 50% implementation, that we will go from 95% green hydrogen to 50% hydrogen, 50% green hydrogen. I think that's not going to happen. Um, Even if you look at what happened in last, I think we have to be very practical about certain things. It takes time to develop the technology. I mean, Wright brothers did not invent, Boeing 747. They started with this small plane. So um, next decade, we will see uh, small scale implementation, and we will see lots of innovations, and that's what exactly Cipher Neutron doing. We want to, further improve our product, but at the same time, kind of satisfy our customers, meet their expectations of green hydrogen production. Uh, and definitely, I also see that a lot of sectors will see a big change, and some sectors won't see a big change. For example, I strongly believe that ammonia sector or the fertilizer sector will see a big change. Might be 20-30% of ammonia might be made with the clean hydrogen. Same thing with oil and gas industry, same thing with chemicals. As I mentioned in the beginning, there are some sectors which are easy to target, and there are some sectors which are hard to target. So we will see that a lot. Again, that's just my perspective. And I always welcome new ideas. We always welcome academia, universities to collaborate, and because I think this is a sector where we all have to work together. I always go by that quote that we don't own this land. We're actually simply renting it from our future generations. So we have to leave this earth a better place than we get it from our parents, right?
Very well spoken. Thank you so much, sir, for taking the time.
Thank you very much.
And Earthlings, we also thank you for joining us. We will see you again on another turn of this beautiful blue-green space flower that we call home.